Hello, I'm Antonio D'Amico, this is Pointy Hat, and welcome to D&D with a Twist. I'm back to torture your silly little fantasy games with my weird little twists. This is a show where I take a normal D&D thing, could be a class, could be a race, could be a monster, it's a monster, and I give it a different twist. It's like looking for a normal song to listen to on YouTube, only for you to realize that you accidentally clicked on the Nightcore version of that song. And you'll never admit it to anyone, but you're low-key kind of vibing. So when I think of devils, I think of
Dungeons and Dragons. Some claim it's a simple, harmless game.
Spells, battles, maiming, killing.
Hey, it's all imagination.
Is it?
So devils are, well, you know, devils. They are fiends, which is a group that encompasses both devils and demons. Yes, there is a difference between the two, and D&D nerds will get extremely mad if you don't know it, so listen up. Devils come from the 9 hells, while demons come from the abyss, 2 of the lower planes in D&D cosmology. Both of them are not only evil, but born from evil. They are literal embodiments of evil, rather than just happening to be mean. You might think that this common goal of being evil might make them team up to be eviler, but nope. Demons and devils hate each other and fight just as much as they fight with angels, which really puts a damper on the whole evil mastermind aspect of devils, but oh well. The main difference between devils and demons is that devils tend to have their shit together, while demons just generally do whatever they want and answer to basically nobody, which is reflected in devils being lawful and demons being chaotic. Devils being lawful means they have a very rigid and solid hierarchy, with generals, leaders, and archdevils at the very top. We're not getting into the archdevils or the hells in this video. I'll talk about those in the 9 hells video. Please don't scream about it in the comment section. I'll get to it, calm down. Devils are characterized by being ambitious, and to reflect this, they have a very clear system of promotions, where a devil can ascend ranks of hell and become more powerful if they prove themselves to be useful to whatever other devil rules over them. If promoted, they get more pay time off, better coverage, more company paid meals, hotel stays, and dental insurance. But how is a poor devil to ascend this hierarchy and get promoted to regional manager of hell? Well, with Bitcoin. Souls. Souls are basically both money and fuel to devils. The 9 hells run on the energy of souls, so the goal of devils and the way to ascend to higher echelons of the hierarchy is to convince as many living people as possible to invest in Bitcoin, give their souls to corruption. This is usually done through what is called a Faustian deal. A mortal signs a contract with a devil in which they get something from the devil, and in return, the mortal's soul is corrupted and goes to hell when they die. And the twist coming at the end of this video is all about Faustian deals, so pay attention. Faustian deals are how most devils acquire souls. If a devil hits a certain quota of corrupted souls, they'll go up in the hierarchy, and because devils are all about ambition, this is the goal for most of them. There's also talk about promotions happening if a devil doesn't mess up too much at their job or something else, but souls are more interesting, and I plan on using that later, so I'm sticking with that. So what actually happens when a mortal who is evil or with a soul corrupted by a devil dies and arrives in hell? Well, the soul is quite literally put through the ringer, like a humanoid shape orange, to extract the mythical soul juice, and once that lovely process is over, they are turned into a lemur, or at least the souls that show the most promise to become an actual devil, like a useful one, become a lemur. Then, the lemurs that show the most promise are then promoted and turned into another higher devil, who will then try its best and get more souls and hopefully get promoted again and move up the hierarchy, so on and so forth. The devil hierarchy is pretty simple. It starts with least devils, the lowest rung where they are barely sentient and barely devils. That's where lemurs are. Then there are lesser devils, where the majority is not really that much more powerful, but they are sentient and are generally all about collecting souls. The final rung is greater devils, which are pretty important in hell and where you find things like pit fiends. This doesn't mean that there's nobody above greater devils, but those that are above them are like named characters for the most part, and so powerful as to be close to gods, like archdevils, dukes of hell, and all. Like I said, I plan on covering the 9 hells on its own video, so we'll get more into it then. But back to it, this is hell, which most consider to be a place of bad, which means that other than promotion, demotion is a thing. Like I said, devils take their lawful thing very seriously, and if a devil is particularly bad at their job, or tries to cheat the system and gets caught, or just does something against the wishes of hell in general, that devil gets demoted. Demotion can be bad, where you can go down one rung, or it can be completely awful, where you're turned back into something like a lemur. Much like anyone in middle management, levels love to torment their subordinates, so if you've been doing that for a couple of 100 years and then you get demoted to actually become the servants of your previous subordinates, you're in for a rough time. As a result of this, devils are absolutely terrified of demotion. So that's a pretty complete primer on what devils are. Lawful fiends with a rigid and complex social hierarchy that are all about collecting souls. So why don't we take a look at some of these guys and see what they actually look like and what they are about. All devils are extremely different from each other, but they do have some commonalities. Most have dark vision, with many of them being able to see through magical darkness. They are immune to fire. They speak infernal, or at least can understand it. They don't need to eat or drink, but apparently they do need to breathe, which, okay. And most of them are incapable of reproducing, which is why most devils happen when bad evil meanies die. Death in general is fun when it comes to devils. They work under comic book rules, which means that a devil is rarely, if ever, truly dead. If a devil is killed outside of the 9 hells, they haven't been killed at all. Their body dissolves into flubber, a la Wicked Witch of the West or True Blood, and then they reform back in the 9 hells as their own thing. I tried to get an actual number on how long it takes them to do so, and in 3rd edition it was 99 years, but I don't know what's the case in the 5th edition, so whenever the DM feels like it. However, if a devil is killed while they are in the 9 hells, then they are dead for good. So, you know, opening a portal to hell in order to drag a devil in long enough to kill it there, that's a good strategy. Despite these commonalities, devils look widely different from each other. Many don't have the horn look that they are associated with, so it makes it extra confusing to identify if what you're looking at is a devil or a demon. Cue the comments telling me that they can tell so easily. Let's take a look at some iconic devils to see what we're up against. First off, imps. Imps are some of the most common devils players can encounter. They look like gross little guys with bad wings and a scorpion's tail. They come in many colors and flavors, but they're all mischievous and evil, and their whole thing is serving more powerful devils by corrupting the souls of mortals. Imps are not very dangerous, being a baby CR1 creature, and about as threatening as the death metal version of Tinkerbell, so their modus operandi in order to convince people to be evil relies on flattery, lies, and temptation. They're quite literally the devil on top of your shoulder, telling you to live a little and, I don't know, litter or whatever. By their very nature being at the bottom of hell's hierarchy, imps are always in service of someone. But make no mistake, imps are anything but loyal, no matter how many times they may say that all they want is to serve. They have their own goals, which most likely is to lead mortals astray and collect souls so they may to ascend through the ranks and stop being imps. A fun thing about imps is that they can be familiars to Pact of the Chain warlocks. An imp familiar is simply better stat-wise than any other animal familiar. They get access to extremely useful spells like invisibility, which it can cast at will, an actual decent damaging move with its sting, the ability to see through magical darkness, actual magic resistance, and the imp's shape-changing ability. Not to mention flight and the damage resistances and immunities that most devils have. So all in all, an incredibly more powerful option than your baseline familiar. But the true power of the imp familiar is not for the players, but for the DM. As a DM, having a player with an imp familiar allows you to have the imp speak to the warlock, which unlocks all sorts of fun roleplay opportunities. If the familiar is an imp, the patron is most likely a devil, which means that the imp is 100% serving as a spy for its true master and trying to lead the warlock towards evil. This can lead to fun shenanigans or actual awful advice, or maybe the imp will betray the party and tell on them to the warlock's patron if they're going against their plan. Or hell, why not have the imp have a change of heart and side against the patron of the warlock? Perhaps it's a little bit out of character for a devil, but maybe the imp believes that the warlock is way more likely to respect the imp enough to give them more power, and decides to betray the warlock's patron. What I'm saying is that this is your chance to put Iago from Aladdin into your campaign, and you would be a fool not to take it. Next up, Erinyes. Erinyes are interesting because they are the exception to many of the rules that apply to most devils. For example, they don't come from mortal souls being turned into lemurs, but rather it's said that they are direct descendants of fallen angels that arrived in the hells ages ago, which is why they've got that traditional celestial feathered wings instead of the spooky bat ones. Another way in which they differ from most devils is that they are one of the few that are able to actually reproduce, and they are apparently super motherly and protect their progeny and stuff, so that's cute. As to what they do, they are very much based on the Furies of Greek mythology. Yes, those Furies. In Greek mythology, the Erinyes are chthonic deities of vengeance and justice that punish those judged guilty of a crime. In D&D, Erinyes are in charge of carrying justice in the 9 hells to both mortals and devils, funnily enough. In that way, they are possibly the most lawful of all devils, as they generally care more about justice than doing evil. They will make sure that the contracts made between a mortal and a devil are actually fair, and will 100% punish a devil that hasn't kept up their end of their bargain. Erinyes might be evil, but they definitely have a strong moral code, and that's generally a really cool thing to have players interact with. They are also one of the only devils that is said to not be interested in being promoted up the hierarchy. They see themselves as being superior to many other devils and enjoy their duties, and they are given special privileges like being in direct contact with many extremely powerful devils, so they generally have no interest in changing forms and going up the ladder. That's the cool part of their lore, and then there's the either outdated or just boring stuff that directly contradicts their whole thing about justice, as apparently they're also wicked seductresses that go into the material plane to lure mortals with their sexy ways, and then just drop them naked into hell. Who knows why anyone felt the need to do this when succubi and incubi do the exact same thing already but better? As if we needed one more evil sexy devil lady to join the other 37 we already had. It's double bad, as it makes absolutely no sense for them to do the whole kidnapping and dropping the victim into hell and then turn around and be all about justice and punishing other devils for not adhering to the laws of hell by forcing people into contract. Like, what kind of hypocritical doublethink juice are they on? Even if most of them are not interested in being promoted, Erinyes are one of the only devils that are said to be able to be promoted into pit fiends. And speaking of pit fiends are one of the most iconic devils in D&D. 12 feet tall, humanoid, spooky, sort of T-Rexy-esque. They look like the Balrog. Despite them looking like the devil embodiment of Mad Gaines, they are quite smart. Known to be great tacticians and mastermind manipulators, in combat they are a chunky CR-20 and are kind of boring. Like, yes, they do have the big number in HP and the big number in stats and all, but in terms of actual abilities, it's mainly just them being good at hitting stuff real good, with like a couple of basic damaging spells and stuff like Hold Monster that just won't be able to be used against the party, so whatever. They are at the very top of Hell's hierarchy, for Batezu that is. Above them, there are of course the Dukes of Hell and the Archdevils, but you know, don't tell the Pit Fiends that, we don't want to put a damper on their promotion. In order for a devil to be promoted to be a Pit Fiend, they must spend 1001 days in the Pit of Flames, the worst place in all of the 9 hells. If they survive, they rise as Pit Fiends, hence the name. Apparently this whole thing is for them to finally understand the true meaning of pain and suffering. Very teen emo of them. They are said to embody the true essence of devils. Side note here, there's apparently a way to speedrun becoming a Pit Fiend, and it's by Asmodeus just bleeding somewhere. A Pit Fiend would then sprout from the blood of Asmodeus, which is how the Lord of Hell filled his lair full of Pit Fiends, creating the infernal frat house of doom and torment. Being basically above all other normal devils, Pit Fiends rule over huge parts of the 9 hells. They could command a fortress, a legion, or even a city in the hells. They are also the generals in the war against demons, which is where their whole master tactician thing pays off, since devils are very much outnumbered by demons. Because they were already at the very top of the hell's hierarchy, they are not too preoccupied with corrupting mortals to gain their souls. They are simply too booked and blessed for that. And there you go. Those are some devils. We've looked at how devils work, how and why they make pacts with mortals. We've gone through some iconic devil enemies, and that's all well and good, but what if we gave devils a new twist? So you want to fight a devil?
It's Satan! Hey, girl!
Devils are paperwork-obsessed bureaucrats straight from hell. So, bureaucrats. So let's get it straight from the get. Devils, as they are cool. They have really cool lore, they have a solid motivation for corrupting mortals and leading them to be evil, they have the whole hierarchy of hell thing to explore, they create cool roleplay opportunities, they are as evil as they come, but also play fair, which makes them interesting. They're cool. If you use alignments, Lawful Evil is one of, if not the alignment that can create the most easily compelling and fun antagonist. Devils can be an obstacle in your campaign, the main attraction in an adventure or a short arc, or the true big bad behind the entire campaign. There are many devils with great stat blocks that go through basically the entirety of all CRs, which makes it easy to use them throughout a campaign. And they are tied to a really intricate and complex location that you can set a full campaign into. You even have a book for it. Huh. Demons don't get a book, huh? That's interesting. I wonder why. So what could we possibly do to give devils a new twist? Well, I think there's still room for exploration and, dare I say, improvement. We know that most devils' motivation is to corrupt the souls of mortals so that they end up in the 9 hells on account of souls being the thing that powers the 9 hells. In order to do this, devils often make pacts with mortals where they give them something in exchange for their soul when they die. But for all the talk about devils being all about making pacts, that sure rarely happens at the table. In my experience, Faustian deals rarely if ever happen during play. Faustian deals are seen either in the realm of backstory through a warlock that has chosen Pact of the Fiend as their subclass, or when an NPC makes a deal with the devil. In my years of playing D&D, I have honestly never seen a Faustian deal happen in real time at the table between a devil and a PC, unless someone took a level in warlock somewhere along the adventure. Now, warlocks make sense because the player gets a great in-game bonus if they make a deal with the devil. Hell, it's a whole subclass. But why is it easier for an NPC to make a Faustian deal? An NPC has things that they care about that the party simply doesn't care about, and they don't have the means that adventurers do. I don't think a single PC would take a Faustian deal where they basically ensure an eternity of torment in hell for money. But an NPC sure will, because they're not getting paid 3,000 gold pieces for killing a troll in the woods. Similarly, a PC might react to their little sister coming down with an illness by asking the cleric to cast lesser restoration on her, or remove curse if it's a curse. Maybe if they are low level enough, they might have to go on a little quest to find this cleric, or find the money to pay them, but they'll get through it. An NPC though, maybe a Faustian deal is the only way their little sister is getting out of that alive. If we look at Devil's abilities, very little in their stat block is focused around what they could offer to a party of PCs in exchange for a Faustian deal. And it's a shame since this is their primary motivation and such a huge part of the whole devil thing. Devils are all about making deals, but they can offer basically nothing enticing to a PC in order for that PC to make a deal with the devil, other than the whole different class and subclass. So what could we do about this? How could we bring that sweet, sweet, enticing devil offering you a deal you cannot refuse flavor to the table? Well, we know that the Pact of the Fiend Warlock is enticing in part because it offers you a tangible benefit in gameplay. It gives you abilities. What if we did that? What if we made a type of devil that is able to offer the party a tangible in-game benefit? Something that would tempt an adventurer to actually say yes to a Faustian deal. Hear me out, Goetia demons. Quick history lesson on what is a Goetia demon. The Lesser Key of Solomon is a grimoire on demonology. I'm not gonna call this science, the study of demons. Yes, as I said before, I know that devils and demons are not the same thing. This isn't D&D, you nerds. I'm talking about an actual book in the real world. The book is actually composed of 5 books. The most well-known one, and the one that has made it to our day in the best condition, is the first one, the Ars Goetia. Goetia means evocation, as in summoning, of demons. Yes, this is 100% a book on demon summoning. You can say what you want about the channel, but you can't say I don't bring something interesting. But why would people need a book about how to summon demons? Well, the Ars Goetia gives you instructions on how to summon 72 different demons, and it details what anyone that summons them can learn from them. Yes, apparently, a part of demonology was about learning actual useful skills from demons, like herbology, philosophy, math, science.
Is math related to science?
Magic. Catch me running an adventure set in a magical college where devils are summoned to teach students different classes. But no, for real. I want to write that. I love that. I'm gonna use that in the future. But you didn't just get knowledge if you summoned one of the Goetia demons. You could ask them for favors. You could have them cast spells for you. You could use their help to do things you were not able to do before. See where I'm going with this? What if we took inspiration from the concept of Goetia demons to create D&D devils that could offer great boons to your PCs in exchange for their soul? Hellish Adepts are a specific type of devil who specializes in corrupting mortal souls by catering to the specific needs of mortals. Hellish Adepts have access to the knowledge and training of the 9 hells, and have become impossibly skilled in one area of expertise. They are known for being extremely skilled in one specific field, and are attracted by the ambitions of mortals that match that field. They can be summoned into the material plane like most devils, but much like Erides, they can also cross into the material plane with no need of a summon, but only when they locate a mortal that has a sufficient craving for an expertise in a skill they master. A mortal that thirsts for forbidden knowledge that they cannot access might be visited by a hellish adept of intelligence. A mortal that wishes with all their heart that they could enchant crowds with a silver tongue that they do not have might attract a hellish adept of charisma. And a mortal that wants to enact revenge against those that wronged them by killing them, but is simply too weak to do so, might inadvertently summon a hellish adept of strength. Hellish adepts come in many forms, as their bodies and appearances change to reflect their expertise. Hellish adepts of strength have impossibly strong bodies, with humongous horns that they use to charge against their enemies. Hellish adepts of dexterity have many long, lithe limbs, and gaseous forms that they can dissipate and form at will, turning invisible and more silent than smoke. Hellish adepts of intelligence have vestigial bodies that are covered with heads, one head for each new area of study they master. As a result of this, their bodies are no longer able to move, so they use their impossibly powerful psionic and arcane abilities to levitate and move at will. Hellish adepts of wisdom are covered in eyes and have several sets of noses and ears, granting them not only supernatural perception, but also the ability to see through any illusion and lie. And hellish adepts of charisma have forms that combine the devilish and the beautiful, with ornate and intricate horns and leathery skin fashioned into beautiful gowns and tunics. Their entire bodies are covered with mouths that can talk in unison to sway anyone that hears them speak. Those that make a Faustian deal with a hellish adept become their pupils, and a devil mark appears somewhere on their bodies to anchor the adept's power into the body of the pupil. The form of the mark depending on the particular hellish adept that has made the deal. A pupil of a hellish adept enjoys boons that transcend the capabilities of any mortal. They gain a supernatural level of skill in the field that they choose, as well as other incredible powers. A druid looking to become an expert of arcana and transcend the limits of their natural magic might summon a hellish adept of intelligence to make a deal, after which they will learn spells they wouldn't be able to cast with their magic, and will be able to summon the knowledge of the adept when they need it to learn more arcane secrets. The more a pupil uses the skills they acquired through their deal with the adept, the stronger the skill becomes, making the pupil more and more powerful. But any Faustian deal has a downside. Pupils are enticed to use the skill that was given to them, to rely on it, but that skill has a limited number of uses. As they use that skill, their devil mark grows, and the corruption of their soul does too. After enough uses of that skill, their soul is completely consumed by the hellish energy of the hellish adept, quite literally burn away as their devil mark covers them entirely. The pupil dies, but something else takes their place. That's how new hellish adepts are born. The soul of the pupil is twisted into a new hellish adept that will make new deals, perpetuating the cycle by sending more and more souls to be consumed by the 9 hells. And those are hellish adepts. What I wanted to do was make it as enticing to the party as possible, but also a great starting point for adventurers. Imagine a party discovering a town where a paladin of good has been defending the town and saving it from certain doom with their unparalleled strength. But then the party finds out that the paragon is a pupil of a hellish adept of strength, whose soul is close to burning. They might decide to fight her to stop her before it's too late. And imagine the boss fight that would be, when the paragon uses her impossible strength one last time to stop the party, and that finishes her full transformation into a new hellish adept. You gotta love a fight with a final form in it, but putting all that in would be a ton of work. I mean, you would need to make the stat blocks for the adepts, and then you would have to make up what the actual rules on soul corruption are. That's just a ton of work. And that's why I did it! And you can have it for free. Yes, the Hellish Adept stat blocks and the rules on how to handle soul corruption if your players choose to make a deal with them are all in the description below. So go out there, disappoint your religious parents, and make some deals with devils. And welcome to the end of the video! It's the end! We did it! You did it! I did it! We all did it! And this sure was a lot of work. But I really like devils and I wanted to do something special for them. I really hope you liked the video and that you like the Hellish Adepts, because I tried my very best to make them as cool and useful in games as possible. Like I said, I'm sure some of you will know some of the inspirations behind the concepts of the Adepts. You know, people of culture. If you did like them, the channel is still extremely new, so sharing the videos around to your friends that grew up in the 80s and are still psychologically traumatized by the satanic panic helps. Leaving a comment also helps. So tell me what would make you make a Faustian deal. So go ahead and check if there are any plates and any cups left in your room and bring them to the kitchen. Okay, see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. Mwah.